Hello, and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview. This is a show where we take a look at what's coming in the current edition of the North Coast Journal. I am your host, Tanya Shrum, and we are joined by North Coast Journal's managing editor, Jennifer Fumiko Cahill. Welcome.
Hello, Tanya. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
I'm okay. We have kind of a positive and realistic. We're dealing with the times, but a story about some people doing great work. And also, I have had some very good sandwiches this week, so I'm doing good.
Well, we know that when we're well fed, we're doing well. So it's at least a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I should say I'm doing well. I'm not doing good like Batman. I'm just doing well.
All right. Well, speaking of your the cover story this week, we do have an amazing story that Griffin brought us, and you're gonna let us know what's going on.
Yes, I'm sorry Griffin couldn't make it to today's broadcast. He was working, but Griffin Mancuso has a really great story this week for us on something that we've been wanting to cover, which is the Centro del Pueblo response to ICE, in the sense of the threat of ICE coming up to Humboldt County. Sidebar, if you think you saw ICE, if you are hearing rumors about ICE, if you are seeing even photos related to ICE at Humboldt County, Centro del Pueblo is a great resource for contact and to either confirm or debunk whatever you're finding. And we're going to talk about some of the debunking that coming up, but it is a really important thing that we don't have wild rumors and things like that. And Centro del Pueblo has really done a great job of making themselves a community hub for that purpose. So if you have been living in the best, happiest bubble outside of our wretched timeline, you should know that ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And those agents that have been swarming places like we saw most recently in national news, places like Minneapolis, Minnesota, over in LA, in San Francisco, we're always hearing about ICE raids happening all over the place. And we have a lot of folks here in Humboldt County, particularly the Latino population, concerned about it. Not strictly the Latino population. And let's not forget that plenty of folks are being pulled in by ICE who are not in any kind of legal trouble. They are people who have full citizenship and they are still being detained by ICE agents. So let's not forget that the threat doesn't just pertain to people who are undocumented. It is also for all of us and all of us who care about citizenship and about what it means to be a resident of America and how we're supposed to be treating people, due process, and the like. So Griffin went and interviewed some people about the programs that Centro del Pueblo has been running in collaboration with the University of California Davis Labor and Community Center and the Service Employees International Union, SEIU. Union 2015. They represent long-term healthcare workers around California. This is something really interesting and something that I learned reading this. We often talk about, when it comes to our Latino population, we hear about, people who are working in the food industry, people who are working in hospitals, people who are working here in Humboldt County, in dairies and all kinds of things, farm work, et cetera, as well as a ton of white collar and beyond jobs, et cetera. But what this union shared on their website struck me, and that is that 87% of in-home care workers nationwide are women, 62% are people of color, and 31% are immigrants. This is wild to me. And as a child of immigrants, I'm always looking at how the policies and things that we're doing in this country are affecting folks who have immigrated, folks who have become naturalized citizens, folks who are lifetime green carders, etc. And it is really interesting to me to see that this population, just like all of our workers, farm workers, etc., wildly necessary. These are the people that we decided a couple years ago were essential workers, right? And now our essential workers are under threat from our own government in the form of ICE. So what these folks did when they came together, all these different organizations, is they started to come up with a way to teach people about, the title of the story is Know Your Rights, about what their rights are and how to navigate those rights. Because we all know in this climate, knowing your rights is really not enough. You can recite the Constitution to somebody, they still might throw you in the back of a car, right? So it was really interesting for me to see one of the UC Davis legal fellows, Soni Chakravarti, said, the fact that you have to know this, it makes me angry. And that's what she told the audience, the people who came to this kind of a workshop that they've been having, helping people to know what their rights are, to strategize, and to know how to respond. And they even have little skits enacting, this is what the interaction is going to be like, etc. And really practical advice about if ICE shows up in your life. One of the points they mentioned was for some of those home care workers, for example, long-term care workers, is to put a sign at the door in case folks have memory issues, reminding them that you don't need to be letting ICE in the house. You are not legally required to open the door for ICE agents, and you need to ask for a judicial warrant because that's something they are likely not going to have, and they don't need to be coming in your house. They shared tips like, you should never answer questions ICE may sneakily ask you to make your immigration situation more difficult. And they really gave this very practical approach, talking about how you don't want to lie. You want to have a certain kind of, and I'll get to it, a certain kind of response, a really focused, staying on message. Do you have a warrant? Am I being detained, etc.? And it's wild to me that we are doing this, trying to protect our constitutional rights and protecting our legal rights and our right to due process from our own government. It's wild, and I'm impressed that these folks came together from all these different groups. And it's also scary because, you know, we've seen these masked agents come into areas not showing the kind of ID that you could be sure they're all in this sort of like Desert Storm cosplay outfits. It's hard to know who's really an actual agent. And there have been sort of scary moments across the country of people pretending to be ICE agents, or ICE agents behaving horrendously under color of authority, you know, killing people, but also taking advantage of people. There have been assaults and things like that. So some of the stuff that they talked about included, when I was talking about the skits, they are really giving people the kinds of hands-on, really clear instruction. Like they have actors, volunteers who come up, and somebody plays the ICE agent and somebody plays the person that they're interrogating on the street. And they do this in Spanish and in English. And they ask, like, am I being detained? Can I leave? And somebody says, no, you cannot leave, right? And then, I wish to exercise my right to silence, and an attorney, can I leave? Staying on message like that. Having that kind of a demonstration really shows you it's not just a theoretical thing. You're seeing, this is what I have to do, right? And just knowing you have those tools can be, according to the folks who run these, can be an empowering thing. It also struck me as interesting when Griffin spoke to the folks who were putting them on, that to do this over and over again, to do these skits over and over again, became emotionally draining for some folks, right? So if this is a real concern in your life, a real possibility that ICE could show up on your doorstep and make your life perilous in some way. So they had volunteers, and always happy to see white folks stepping up. People who are not directly in danger volunteered to do these skits instead and to take that emotional load. And you love to see it. Also wonderful to see was the discussion of Measure K. So Measure K, you might recall, I know it's every week, it's another measure, right? You may recall Measure K, approved by 55% of voters, explicitly prohibits county employees from assisting or collaborating with federal immigration agencies. State legislation, Senate Bill 54, does the same thing statewide, more or less. And Brenda Perez, who is the executive director of Centro del Pueblo, talks in her interviews with Griffin about how that really changed the feeling that a lot of Latin community members had about their safety and about their fellow Humboldt residents. Feeling supported rather than hunted in this way that it can feel when you are in a minority population, feeling like the community has their back, feeling like the community cares what happens to you. That really made a big difference. She points out that there's still a fear, there's still a worry about speaking up, but she feels like people feel safe enough to come to an event like the Know Your Rights event, right? People feel safe enough to reach out and ask for help. And as she puts it, it makes them feel safer knowing that people have their back. That's what another person from the advanced director of Centro, William Dirks, had said that. And I love to see that. I also love to see something I didn't know was that the Wiyot tribe also declared their land would be a sanctuary for immigrants after the Centro staff reached out to them while they were pushing for Measure K. And to have Native people in this community also saying, we have your back, is a tremendous thing. And again, you love to see it.
And this is great education for everybody because, as we've seen throughout the country, Indigenous folks are not immune from this kind of foul treatment by ICE. And so it's important for everybody to know their rights.
Yeah, it's been a real unpleasant irony to see Native people hassled by immigration. And again, it's about a week ago, somebody sent me a story about a woman who's my mother's age, who was a citizen by marriage, just like my mother became, and who was deported. And for even someone like me, who I don't feel particularly vulnerable, to see the people we love and the people we rely on, our coworkers, our friends, to see our own families and, for folks who are in particularly vulnerable Black and Brown communities, and particularly the Latin community, to feel vulnerable at this time, the stress is tremendous. It's overwhelming. And I imagine having folks like Centro del Pueblo arranging these events, it is something. It is really something to see people who are not hiding, people who are not afraid to help each other. And there are a bunch of things happening this week. There's going to be a May Day event. Some of you may already know about the Friday May Day. I believe it's a blackout day, isn't it? Is it not? It's the no shopping, no work, etc.
Right.
And Centro del Pueblo is going to have an event over at the courthouse. and it is going to include a march over to the Eureka Theater for a film. The film would be Inglorious Bastards. Quite a choice.
Quite apropos.
And it's wild. It's wild out here. And there's some other stuff too. They're doing a Cinco de Mayo event that is going to be a big cultural event on Saturday over, I believe, at the Old Town Gazebo. And yeah, it's a tremendous moment to really see a community that is helping itself, helping each other, and other people stepping up to really face this moment.
And before we pivot, I know that if people have questions or concerns or tips, or if they need to debunk anything, the North Coast Journal provides the information to Centro del Pueblo.
Yeah, the number is 707-200-8091. And calling them up, for example, people called them up when they saw these AI images that can be really hard to spot. My kids can do it. I seem to be unable to. But these AI images of ICE vehicles out in Ferndale, etc., those kinds of things are meant to scare a community, meant to force people back into their homes, meant to suppress any kind of protest, etc. And they're meant to send us running. So it's really important. We certainly, as a news organization, we are not out here trying to see rumors fly. So if you see something, there's a number you can contact. It's in the paper. And yeah, I'm happy to see this is happening. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next.
All right. Well, thank you, Jennifer, and thanks to Griffin for the story. I encourage everybody to pick up this week's journal and read the entire article for themselves. And with that, we're going to pivot to the belly and all the good things that Jennifer found to fill it up this week.
Did you say fill it like Philly? Were we doing a little?
Just a little bit. I was trying to slip it in there, but it didn't quite work.
Listen, shout out to all the transplanted Philadelphia Flyers fans that are out there.
That's right.
Before I went to this eatery, before I headed over to the Wild Hare Tavern to try Grigini's, I texted a picture from like Facebook or somewhere to Dan Squire, hey Dan, who is our resident cheesesteak expert. And he works for us on the Ferndale Enterprise every week. And I sent him a picture and I was like, what do you think of this sandwich? And he was like, well, the bread looks legit. I'm wondering if those are sweet hot peppers. I can't tell. And he broke it down like the way that birders look at like, well, the feathers on the close to the beak are, and I got an analysis. It made me extremely hopeful. And I got to say, it was amazing. So I went to Grigini's, which if you've been looking at bar food lately, bar food has changed. Used to be you went to a bar and you got fries, some potato skins, whatever was going to, up your cholesterol, etc. But lately, some folks who are maybe not ready to go to a truck, not ready to go to a brick and mortar restaurant, because listen, times are tough. They are occupying a couple nights a week at a place that is a drinking establishment with a kitchen, right? You may have seen over at the cider bar, right? The local over in, Bittersweet, over in Arcata, now has Food with Hoy, now has Tasty Tiger. Folks rotate in and out. For a while, Cap's Food Truck was in there. And now the Wild Hare Tavern, which still has the Chicago dog that you were excited about. I don't want the Chicagoans. I don't want there to be like a Chicago Philly throwdown. Although Would absolutely watch.
Would absolutely watch. Oh my
Would
goodness.
watch.
That's why I was like, that's the Bulls and the Sixers right there.
But I don't want there to be, again, we don't want rumors flying. You may remember Kevin Hover is over in the Wild Hare Tavern kitchen making a really great Chicago dog and some other wonderful kind of like comforty bar food that's lovely, a fantastic grilled cheese sandwich. But now also Grego and Amy Gregan have moved in for Saturday and Sunday residency in the Wild Hare Tavern kitchen, and they are doing Italian and Philly specialties. So, boy, I don't want to pit it against the Chicagoans again, but if the show The Bear made you feel like you are not taking sandwiches seriously enough, you need to look at these. So the Philadelphia sandwich, there are a number of things on this menu that are fantastic. I don't want to skip, because I'm into the sandwiches, I don't want to skip the fact that this is the best lasagna that I've had in a restaurant since moving to Humboldt County. It is excellent. He's making his own pasta for the lasagna. It is an 8-hour process. I don't know that includes the making of sauce. It is fantastic. It's got a sausage and beef meat filling. Strong recommend. But just go in, and when you order it, just ask if I have already received my slice, because if I haven't, I don't want anyone to take it. So the Greginis, well, actually, that's the family name. This is a fun story. They're the Gregans. Amy and Grego are the Gregans, but their name was shortened when their dad came in the 1950s from Italy. When they came through Ellis Island, his name got chopped like so many people's. So Gregini became Gregan. And they are making things the way that his mom made them. There's a fantastic kind of old Italian-American flavor to this food. It's an all-day long cooking sauce. And that sauce shows up on the sandwiches too. Of course, there is a Philly cheesesteak. And of course, that is made with the non-negotiable Amoroso roll. It's made with the onions that have to be caramelized for like 30 to 40 minutes. It's fantastic. It is a big, gooey, messy, like you look into Gritty's crazy eyes on the ice and you ask yourself, what kind of a town would choose a mascot like this? And then you have the sandwich and you're like, oh, these people have no borders. They have no boundaries. Sure. Let's make this incredibly decadent, fantastic sandwich. And he's worked hard to keep it within, both he and Amy have worked hard to keep it within the kind of authenticity of the traditional Philly cheesesteak, but also trying to keep it where the price point is still reasonable for most folks because times are tough. And that means there are some substitutions, like we're doing a different cut of meat for, instead of doing the ribeye, I believe we're doing a sirloin. But there are some things that we can't, like the roll. There are some things we can't substitute that have to be as they must, like you have to long cook the onions, etc. It's also a fantastic chicken parm sandwich.
Oh my goodness, we totally ate up all of our time already.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But Tanya, listen, I know your Jersey soul needs to go and eat a chicken parm with me, so we're going to go do that.
Okay.
And you're going to enjoy listening to people who still have not lost their Pennsylvania O's. So anyway, read the story because they're fun people and they're really making fantastic food.
And go get a sandwich.
Go get a sandwich.
Go get a sandwich. And my underground Jersey soul, because I am from DC, but there is a Jersey girl in there.
I feel like there's Jersey in there.
There's Jersey in there. That wraps up our time for this week. The current edition of the North Coast Journal. Gotta stop. It's available on newsstands tomorrow.
You
Pick
tell
up
them,
your
Tanya.
copy. Well, of course, you can always find it online at northcoastjournal.com. We're going to give Matt gray hair. I am Tanya Schrum. Thank you for being with us and staying informed and supportive of our North Coast community.